The FBI has special facilities where, as they call it, documents are brought for burning, meaning for destruction. Tons of processed documents. The documents arrive after they go through a certain verification procedure, and then they are burned. When Dan Bongino started working at the FBI, he stopped all destruction. And after he stopped it, millions of papers, disks, and other information storage devices went for re-examination. He actually knew what he was doing. Plus, a couple of people from the FBI told him to stop it. We know there's something there that shouldn't be destroyed. Was he right, or were they right? There were pearls among the piles of trash. What the previous management desperately wanted to destroy, well, some of it, of course, they did destroy, but some things still remained. And now they've found handwritten notes. Comey, who thought that in 2016 he was switching over to serve Hillary Clinton, and he wasn't shy, in fact, about writing down ideas on how to help her defeat that disgusting Trump. And he went far, very far. Not all of the ideas were legal. Well, besides the fact that the FBI shouldn't interfere in anything at all, some of these ideas were illegal for anyone, not just for a law enforcement officer. But Comey's notes, as well as other materials, dragged a bunch of other people into this. So, as Dan Bongino said, he was shocked, even him.
Many of you may remember the rather creepy tweet that Dan Bongino posted in July. It was as frank as it was ominous. He wrote, quote, "I will never be the same after what I learned. I
will never be the same after what I learned." And this is coming from the experienced Dan Bongino, who once said, "I've seen it all." Well, it turns out he hadn't seen everything.
And
the victories keep coming. We got it. Explosive new documents show that Hillary Clinton is indeed under the scrutiny of Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. All this while Shah and Bongino have just issued more than 30 subpoenas exposing the corruption scandal. It's so massive that even the people investigating it say they'll never be the same.
It finally happened. See, the deep state is being exposed. Yes, it took a few months, but it looks like we can start getting the popcorn ready, because we're about to see what happens when those who once considered themselves untouchable and flawless finally face justice.
I myself can't wait for it to finally happen. Although I understand that justice, unless it's a Stalinist troika, happens slowly. And that's actually what makes it right. Because, well, first of all, it's easy to convict an innocent person, and on the other hand, you can punish a criminal for only a small fraction of what they've actually done.
Well, it looks like we're all about to find out. It seems that the deep state is finally being exposed. FBI Director Kash Patel, along with Dan, just dropped a bombshell that has sent Washington insiders into a complete panic. It was just announced that in a matter of days, they issued more than 30 subpoenas that landed on the desks of people who thought they were untouchable. And the cases they are opening are extensive and devastating for the deep state. We're discussing Operation Crossfire and the Russian collusion hoax. Everything's being revealed. It turns out that at the very center of this is none other than Hillary Clinton. These are astonishing events happening right now as we speak. Let's sum up what we know. Steve?
Turley knows how to present material well, and many times I've seen that he's only interested in the republics, Saitashito. But in general, these are the same topics that interest me as well. And if you know English, be sure to subscribe. So if you're interested in what I'm talking about, don't forget to subscribe. And it's very important. You need to do it right now, immediately, without leaving the page. Hit the bell and you'll get information about what interests us the most, what's important and interesting, and you'll receive it promptly and regularly. So hitting the bell means it's done. Let's do it right now. Click the bell, and let's get back to Steve Torley.
A federal grand jury in the Southern District of Florida has issued about 30 subpoenas targeting former intelligence and law enforcement officials.
Let me explain why it's in Florida and not in Washington. In the capital, 99% of the jurors, they are militant liberals, Democrats, progressives, essentially socialists or communists who disregard truth or justice. The main thing for them is for Trump and the hated Trump supporters to suffer. It's clear why Florida.
Subpoenas were served to people like former CIA Director John Brennan, who led the agency during the Obama administration. When the Russian investigation began, so did the collusion hoax. Secondly, the completely smug and unpleasant Peter Strzok, former deputy director of FBI counterintelligence, who helped open the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation into Trump's ties with Russia. Third, Lisa Page, former FBI lawyer whose text messages with Strzok showed the absolute and widespread anti-Trump sentiment in the FBI. During the 2016 campaign, Fort James Clapper, former director of national intelligence, and about 26 other officials connected with the 2017 intelligence community assessment, which was deliberately altered and fabricated to create the impression that Trump and Russia colluded to interfere in the 2017 election. But as it turned out, these subpoenas are just the tip of the iceberg. It seems that the case against James Comey, the former FBI director, is becoming absolutely explosive. As it turns out, the evidence against Comey is much more incriminating than what the mainstream media wants you to believe. New documents obtained by investigative journalist John Solomon show that Comey orchestrated a very sophisticated media manipulation campaign, lied to Congress about it, and left a paper trail proving everything. That's what makes this case practically bulletproof.
I have to say right away that a case has also been opened against Bill Clinton, and they're digging into Obama. What's nice is if the Democrats hadn't brought up Epstein again to somehow smear Trump and distract from their failure with the shutdown, then they wouldn't have been hit with their own lever by their own. I don't know what kind of lever that is or why they're getting hit in the face. I mean, their heroes, Obama and Clinton, are getting hit. Subtitles. It all started back in 2015 when the question was asked. So, Hannity, to Trump, what do you think about Clinton? Trump said, a nice person, but with a very big problem. I think. So, listen to what he said. What problem does Bill Clinton have?
A good guy. I think he faces many issues ahead, especially those linked to Jeffrey Epstein's well-known island.
Bill has problems with the famous island. That is, even back then it was known that Bill Clinton was visiting Epstein to see young girls who in the United States are called minors and who became underage prostitutes on Epstein's island. Everyone, as they say, kept silent about this. And Trump spoke out about it, which caused the first shock in the Clinton camp. Journalists rushed to Trump to find out what exactly was going on with Epstein. Well, those who didn't know.
Jeffrey Epstein, and your comments about the pre-questions and answers, Sean.
How?
Do you think what is
The problem going to be? I don't know, but this island was a real breeding ground. There's no doubt about it. Just ask Prince Andrew, he'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute breeding ground.
It's amazing how every new piece of evidence about Jeffrey Epstein gets worse and worse for Bill Clinton, and better for Donald Trump. You can
imagine that by bringing Epstein into the light, Trump is not. He didn't join the orgies on the planes, in Epstein's apartments in New York, or on the famous Adventure Island, for wealthy and influential targets of future blackmail.
The Democrats released a lot of new emails from Jeffrey Epstein, essentially exonerating Donald Trump, proving that Jeffrey Epstein believed Trump was actually a federal informant who was reporting on him and conspiring with some of the more duplicitous members of the media to frame Donald Trump using Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, even though he was innocent, just guilty. By association. That's what they're trying to do now. They're trying to pull off this operation years later. The documents reveal everything. What else did we learn from them? If you really know where to look, you'll find that people, you might not know this person. This person was Jeffrey Epstein's longtime butler. And although he never met Trump, he never saw Trump do anything. This person who has now spoken to the media says, dude, Clinton was around all the time. He has photos with Clinton that he never published before, like President Clinton in a Nike and Jordan t-shirt. And what's the slogan there? Just do it, just do it. Yeah, well, Clinton really did it. Bill Clinton was on the Lolita Express 27 times. Victims say that Bill Clinton liked them young in sworn testimony.
The young girls say that Bill Clinton really likes them very young, and they giggle.
I was lucky President Clinton introduced me to London business leaders, knowing I was coming to Aldwych. I never asked Jeffrey Epstein for anything. I didn't want to be around that guy because I felt he put the president at risk during that trip to South Africa. There were young girls there and we wondered, who is this guy? So I'll say this on.
There were young girls on those flights. And of course, Jeffrey Epstein's victims stood in front of the United States Capitol, in front of all the cameras of the world and the media, and said, yes, I was a victim on a flight with Bill Clinton. That's how it is.
I was just one of many young women who got caught up in his orbit. I was even taken on a trip to Africa with former President Bill Clinton and other famous people. In those moments, I felt helpless.
So, given all the available evidence, it can be assumed that there will be an investigation into Bill Clinton. All the evidence points to Bill Clinton, and now, finally, we have this from Donald Trump. Now, when the Democrats are using the Epstein scam, which concerns Democrats and not Republicans, to try to distract from their disastrous shutdown and all their other failures, I will ask Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice, together with the great patriots from the FBI, to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's involvement and his relationship with Bill Clinton, along with other major Democratic Party donors and institutions. John Pierpont Morgan Chase, Larry Summers, former Harvard president, and Reid Hoffman, a billionaire Democratic donor. Many other institutions are also being investigated. With him, another Russian scandal points to the Democrats. The record shows that these men and many others spent a significant part of their lives with Epstein on his island. Stay with us.
We would like all the materials, videos, letters, and interrogations to be brought to light. For some reason, this is not happening. But it's possible that a new turn of slander has swung the pendulum to the side, enough hiding, to the side, enough covering up, to the side. It's time for the country to know its heroes.
I know this because we can really see it. We know Jeffrey Epstein blackmailed Bill Gates over his unusual relationship with a young Russian woman. No one knew her exact age, which he was obsessed with. It cost him his marriage. It ruined his life. Bill Gates is now just a shell of a man, endlessly compromised and blackmailed. Jeffrey Epstein visited the Clinton White House 17 times and the Trump White House 0 times.
The story with the very smart Bill Gates, he's just a genius, yeah. And a Russian girl of unknown age, Bill was lucky he didn't marry her. So, who knows what she might have carried away in her beak to Dzerzhinsky Square. It's interesting that among the American media, they're discussing Trump's alleged connection with Epstein and have completely, absolutely coincidentally forgotten about Epstein's very real connection with both Clintons. I emphasize, not just one Bill.
The Democrats want you to forget about the disaster caused by the shutdown, so they're launching a smear campaign disguised as a sensation. Jeffrey Epstein's emails. Congress is releasing thousands of documents, and the Democrats are using them to frame Trump. But we're looking through them and can't find anything, nothing that incriminates Trump. Even Axios says there's no real evidence in the emails. The documents show close ties between Epstein and liberals like the anti-Trump author Michael Wolff. He conspired with Epstein to blackmail Trump. Wolf told Epstein in 2015, if you let him hang himself, if he says he wasn't on the plane or in the house, it will give you valuable public relations and political currency. Why is Wolf giving a pedophile public relations advice and teaching him how to overthrow the president? Epstein was conspiring with more than one writer. A New York Times reporter warned Epstein that a former police officer was investigating him for a book. That reporter was fired from the company after it was revealed that he had asked Epstein for a $30,000 donation. Larry Summers, who worked for Bill Clinton and Obama, also corresponded with Epstein. He asked him for advice about women. Who asked Jeffrey Epstein for dating advice? Epstein had connections not only with Democrats and the media, but also with foreigners. Before Trump met with Putin in 2018, Epstein offered his services to the Kremlin, claiming he could provide Russia with information about Trump. Which is strange because if the Kremlin controlled Trump, as the Democrats claimed, why would they need information? He wasn't just a wealthy American. He had connections with major players from Israel to Saudi Arabia. And that wasn't a secret. Epstein visited Clinton's White House 17 times, and he often flew with Slick Willie on the so-called Lolita Express. Clinton and Epstein seemed like buddies, but when it came to Trump, Jeffrey had Trump derangement syndrome. I've met some really bad people, but no one was as bad as Trump. Not a single decent cell in his body. KM, Trump should treat that as a badge of honor. He's the slickest guy around, and hating him is positive. Epstein even admitted that Trump, quote, never got a massage, KM. The same author Epstein conspired with even said that.
Epstein believed that it was Trump who first informed the police about what was happening in Epstein's house. And since then, they were only sworn enemies.
Trump reported Epstein, but Democrats claimed they were close friends and that Biden and Obama's Department of Justice had proof Trump was compromised, yet hid it through 3 elections. They arrested Trump over accounting, and they want us to believe that they had real dirt on him and didn't use it.
The Epstein files existed and could have been opened during the Biden administration. You were there for 4 years.
Why didn't you open it then? Like,
Democratic
Party? What am I missing? Ghislaine Maxwell said Trump did nothing wrong. The same was said by Epstein's victims and Epstein's lawyer. And none of these letters incriminate Trump. So we're back to square one. Congress is playing games by holding sham votes to release more documents. But that's not going to happen because the decision is up to the judge and they won't release the grand jury testimony. It just seems like a tactic to split the Republicans and to smear the president. For a party that claims to care about accessibility, they sure spend a lot of time on old emails. Primetime is determined to uncover the truth behind the Epstein saga. We've reported on this for years, but it's not about Trump. It's about foreign intelligence, blackmail, and a cover-up. Okay.
So what have we learned from all this? We knew that Bill often visited the island. The girls told us that he likes them younger. We knew that Comey is a liar, a thief, a traitor, a disgusting creature. We've known that for a long time. We knew that Obama was friends with both Epstein and another owner of a brothel for pedophiles, Diddy Combs. And with Harvey Weinstein, too, whom they, by the way, recently got off a serious prison sentence with the help of Comey's daughter. So what didn't we know? So first, Comey did it with his own hand and pen, hand notes, but he didn't manage to destroy them all. Maybe he destroyed some, but he didn't manage to destroy all of them. Second, in the notes he made, there is an admission that he leaked information to the press and lied about it to Congress. Simply put, it's clearly written there. Whether in blue, green, or black on white, I don't know, but it's written that way. The third case is being conducted in Florida to avoid bias from judges and jurors. Fourth, finally, a case has been opened against Billa, and along with him, against his donors. That is, the people to whom he owes his career, and, well, I think they also gave him additional billions. Fifth, it has once again been confirmed that Trump never in any way participated in any educational matters. Sixth, it has again been claimed that Bill Gates divorced his wife due to an alleged underage, possibly Russian spy. And we also learned that apparently so many documents have been dug up that 30 people from the Comey, Clinton, and Obama circles have been subpoenaed by the prosecutor's office, which is also encouraging. Before we wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, let's subscribe. If someone hasn't hit the bell yet, let's hit the bell and write to me. I'm interested in what you think about all these topics. I read them. It takes about 24 hours, and I read everything that's there. So I will reply maybe about e-leak? Goodbye, to be continued.